Alright, let's take a look at your feet. What I want you to understand is all of the tissue in your calves interrelate into this soleus section, comes underneath the calcaneus bone, and comes underneath the arch of your foot. What I want you to keep in mind is if you look at this on an anatomical chart, a lot of the tissue comes underneath and kind of, if you can imagine these being muscles, they go underneath and they create the arch of the foot. So because they come this way, what we want to do is take the ball, and when we say cross friction, if the tissue runs this way, then we're going to run the ball forwards and backwards. That's cross friction massage at the bottom of your feet. Now, one of the things that I want you to keep in mind is you can bruise your foot really easily by putting too much pressure. So what I always say to my clients is find a hot spot, hang out there for a moment, raise your toes up, and what that does is that starts to add movement, and curl the toes back down and back up. If you're sitting on a hot spot, you're going to notice when you add the movement, it actually hurts a little bit more. Just keep that movement going until the pain subsides. Once it does, you can move it to another pain point. Start adding some movement. Now, one thing to keep in mind, when you're dealing with the bottom of your foot, what I want you to keep in mind is you can go from left to right with the ball underneath there, move up 1/4 of an inch, go left to right. You can move up and down. But don't forget, at the bottom of your toes, you have those nice meat pads down there. What I want you to think about is get that ball right there and go left to right. The thing that you're going to find is a little frustrating with the ball in your feet is it's a pretty bony area. But when you find those hot spots, trust me, your feet are going to really appreciate it. Now, one of the things that I want you to keep in mind that's a very difficult area to work on is back here on the heel. When you move the ball onto it, obviously it's a pretty bony area. You don't have to smash it, but I want you to realize that you are working that meaty part of the heel bone. Now, one of the things that I want you to keep in mind is if you're having problems in this Achilles area, we're going to want to do some work on the calves, both heads of the calf called the gastrocs, down into this flat muscle called the soleus, get the tension off of the back of that heel. So as you're watching this video series, I want you to understand that they all interrelate from your foot all the way up into your back of your skull, which we'll talk about in greater detail.